Your spiritual beings having a human experience.
Welcome, Spirit Bus 33 fam, episode number 35. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for having this earth experience, same time as me. Thank you for spending your precious energy. Energy is currency, energy is everything. Thank you for spending it here with me. It's so valuable. I'm so grateful. Thank you. A little shout out to the TikTok live group. What an amazing, healing, just a vibe of a group. I've been learning so much. I just have so much gratitude for all of you. Thank you. Thank you for having that little time with me. For those of you that have not joined, you can go to my TikTok. Uh, I think you can type in jyotishamara, and there's a link in the bio of this podcast, that you can find the link to the TikTok, and I always post when the next one is, so you can take a look at the videos there. Just an amazing, amazing group of so much love. It's a good group of people. So topics for this podcast, they kind of just come to me, so to speak. I really rely on my spirit team, my guidance, the divine source energy, to kind of just allow me to feel really aligned with what topics coming up next. I typically don't know until very close to when I'm recording it. So this one, a little bit of a switch up. I do think it kind of is a little bit of the same energy as last one, but we're going to be kind of taking a little journey back to 1961. And for those of you, this may be some information that you already know. For some of you, maybe you have not heard of the Yale Milgram experiment. Here's a little recap in case you don't know. So Stanley Milgram, Stanley was a psychologist at Yale. So he conducted this experiment that basically, in a nutshell, measured if people would go against their conscience, their intuition to follow authority. Now, of course, the participants didn't know what the study was really about. They were told that there was a learner, and that they would be administering electric shocks. So, side note, electric shocks, they were all fake. But the participants in the study, they didn't know that these electric shocks were fake. They were instructed by the experimenter, so the leader of the experiment, to give a painful electric shock to a learner when a question was answered and the learner got the question wrong. So now they're unable to see the learner, right? They're unable to see the learner, but they can hear the learner. They can hear the sound of the electric shock, and they can hear the learner receive the electric shock. And the learner, the actor, was really good at really, having these like painful responses, distraught. Some would even like plead for mercy, during this. So if you can just kind of picture, this kind of experiment in your head, if you haven't already learned about this, I would just take a little bit of a dive over, type in, the Milgram experiments, just check it out. So you can kind of get a little bit better of a visualization. But the results, like the high amount of participants followed the orders. They did. They followed them, with every single participant dialing these electric shocks up to 300 volts. Get this, 65% going all the way up to 450 volts, right? Like the meter on this read like danger, severe shock. And the participants were making, horrible, horrible sounds, with the dial up to danger, severe shock. And the participant was still rolling it out just as being told to do so. I was looking at one of the advertisements. Now, I know that this was, 1961, money had a different value then. But one of the advertisements on here was just noted, we will pay you $4 for 1 hour of your time. Yeah. So it was, participants coming in and, getting some type of monetary exchange for this. Now, as you're researching this experiment, there is controversy, about the ethics of the study. The participants were said to have felt like emotional distress, and it was obviously seen through, their physical appearance during it. So, even though they didn't know that the electric shocks weren't real, they were experiencing, this emotional and physical distress, but the majority were still going through and administering them, as told. So it really shows up with a very powerful message. So as I had learned about this experiment, I don't know, years and years and years ago, and it just came back up into my reality. And then I just was thinking, do we electrically shock one another because we're told to do so? Like, is that happening right now? What if we replace the word electrically shocked with energetically shocked? So, do we energetically shock one another because we're told to do so? So, let me explain my thought process on this. So, someone's having just a shit day, right? Everything seems to be going wrong. Let's just say the person's running late, coffee maker breaks, you know, cat puke. I don't know. Everything in the morning is just kind of a hot mess. There's traffic, running late. So while rushing to work, it appears to this person that everyone's going slow, right? Like everyone just seems to be taking their sweet ass time, just getting the irritability rising and rising and rising. So, this angry person that's having just a shit start to the day kind of starts to get angry face, starts to tailgate, kind of swerving in and out of traffic, trying to get there, quicker, even flipping off, a couple cars that seem to just be going, extremely slow. And then here's this like unexpected driver who's trying to find an address and is driving a little bit slow, kind of speeds up, slows down, looking for this address. This person has just lost their father, really having a hard time, has spent the whole morning crying, got their stuff together, is on the way to meet with, the funeral place to kind of set up the next steps. And this person becomes the target. All of a sudden, this person that's having that shit day is whipping around them, angry face, flips them off, swerves in front of them. So then the distraught, grieving person pulls off onto the side of the road and all emotions surge back in, uh, and starts crying and feeling all of the grief again. So then that is directly, energetically impacting, one another in that scenario. So let's just take another look. A person who really values equality, really tries to do their best, raised in a very open-minded home environment, tries to keep up on world events, grew up watching CNN, feels like it is the main news source. Family watch CNN, this person watched CNN, never really thought to question, it's a news source. Of course they're fact checking, of course that there's no bias, they're just reporting the news, right? And then another person, grew up in a different family, wants the same thing, really just wants to take care of their family, work, be a good person, grew up with the family watching Fox News. That's a normal, typical way to get your information about what's going on in the world. Never thought to question it, never thought there would be a bias there, never thought there'd be any betrayal. Just, this is where we get our news from. The news does the fact checking. This is what's going on in the world. So slowly, slowly, these two families, people, many other families, individuals are provided with two different narratives of what's going on in the world. Sometimes they're similar, but sometimes they're so different that they're actually attacking the other narrative. So, unbeknownst to the people, they're automatically creating assumptions about the other side. And then there becomes more options, more options, more options of other news sources, of other programming, other ways to gain your information about the world. And they start to kind of contradict the main site or the other main site or a different site. And then before you know it, there is this like high level of frustration, high level of anger towards them, towards those people. They're the reasons for the problem. So when we see one of those people, is that there's energetic vibration, some subtle, maybe just a glance, maybe just a judgment. And of course, there's always the duality in this experience, some extreme, some violent. So as you can see, we don't come into this earth experience hating ourselves or hating other people. Like, it's learned through our environment, through the programming that we take in, the propaganda, the agendas. So then we become the electric shocks. And sometimes the media becomes the experimenter or the leader of it. So I ask you to lean in, kind of observe your internal guidance system, follow your intuition. Is who are you shocking? What group of people do you have bias against? And ask yourself, did that come from a direct experience? And if that is a direct experience, is that an accurate description of all of those people? And then if you're on kind of that love flow, if you're wanting to ripple out harmony, connection, if you're wanting less division, is ask yourself, what are you going to ripple out today? And if you are saying love, patience, strength, wisdom, kindness, etc., is a reminder that have to be cultivated internally first. It has to be harnessed internally, to become energetically aligned with that emotion to then be able to ripple it out to other people all around us. what typically stops this, right? Is what keeps us from being in this vibration. Is when I really start to get at the core belief here, is it really seems to me to be a lot of fear. Now, I'm not saying, I don't have these rose-colored glasses on and saying, oh, everything's just so wonderful out there. Like, I'm not saying that. I know there's some dark shit out there. And that's not exactly what I'm talking about here, is we know that there is darkness out there. I'm not saying align with, things that harm. But we also do have to understand, the acronym of fear, false evidence appearing real. That is present too. Sanaya Roman, Personal Power Through Awareness, she shares, fear is often disguised as logical and rational reasons why something cannot be done. Sometimes it comes disguised as a feeling that other people are stopping you. There are many ways to disguise fear: blame it on others, refuse to take responsibility, decide you can't do it anyway, so what's the point, get angry, quit, and many others. She goes on to say, when you are judgmental or critical, you are most affected by other people's energy. If you look at people and think, they ought to work harder, get their act together, these thoughts pull negative energy into you. What you see in them is what you begin to experience in them. For as you focus on something, you draw it out. What you fear, you draw to you. Get in touch with that gentle, loving part of you, your higher and wiser self that guides you into being more loving. Spirit Bus fam, I invite you to release limiting belief systems about yourself, about others. This is not doormat energy. I'm not asking you to be friends with your abuser. This is not people pleasing energy here. We are still keeping those boundaries. We are still maintaining safety. This is being free. This is about rippling out vibrations that we want to experience. This is about healing ourselves. I love drawing from Toltec wisdom because to me, it just makes sense. To me, if we want to experience freedom, to me, that's what I lean into. Don Miguel Ruiz from the Four Agreements says, everyone talks about freedom. All around the world, different people, different races, different countries are fighting for freedom. But what is freedom? In America, we speak of living in a free country, but are we really free? The answer is no, we're not free. True freedom has to do with human spirit. It's the freedom to be who we really are. He goes on to say, that is why it's important for you to master your own dream. Remember, that's your reality. That is why the Toltecs became dream masters. Your life is the manifestation of your dream. It is an art, and you can change your life anytime you aren't enjoying the dream. Dream masters create a masterpiece of life. They control the dream by making choices. So thank you. Thank you so much for being part of my dream, for being part of the evolution of my dream. As I'm piecing this together the same time that you are, and trying to become my favorite version of myself, trying to become the most loving version of myself while still not taking any shit, but really not leaning into these, limiting belief systems that we're taught, or these judgmental, critical belief systems that we're taught. I want to ripple out some love to you. I'm giving away one copy today of Don Miguel Ruiz's Four Agreements. If you haven't read this, it's a good one. It's good for the collection, or you can just read it, and send it off to someone else. He does have, just to keep it real, he has like an updated fifth agreement of this that does have the fifth agreement with the four agreements. I haven't read that one yet. I'm pretty sure I'm getting it for a Christmas present, so I'm excited about that. Um, but I want to pass this along. I will be giving out another copy in a future episode too, after we get through it in the TikTok lives. So something I've thought about is I want to play like kind of a little game, make this a little fun. I think part of being free, part of really embracing the dream, the art, like what we're creating here, is to have a lot of joy, is to get playful amongst the difficulties of this earth experience. So the little game that I have in mind here is I'm going to give it to the first person that completes kind of this little challenge here. I'm going to say, and some of this will be on the honor system, y'all. So I hope that you that you are able to follow the steps here. But first, I really invite for you to sit with yourself, technology off, music off, just you and your consciousness. For those of you that have been getting the live readings, this comes up a lot. This is a very often message, is just be with your own consciousness. And while you're sitting with yourself, I want you to think of an affirmation, a mantra, whatever word that you use, that is positive for yourself. And sit for about 5 minutes and repeat that mantra, and just give yourself that positive, loving, message to yourself to help upload, to create those neural pathways, to increase the strength of the neural pathways that are, positive in nature. Second, ripple out some loving energy today to someone else in your own special way. Third, make sure you feel aligned with having this book. Like, if you're not going to read it, if you think it's just going to get kind of thrown in a pile somewhere and it's not going to be used, let someone else, complete this and have the book. The last step, which is just comment on this episode completed. And the first person to do so is I'm going to respond with my email address, correspond with you, and I will get that book sent off to you. Again, stay tuned. There'll be an oracle deck, some other things. I'm really excited to be able to ripple out some of this, good energy by gifting things that are just not getting enough love in my home. Thank you for taking a little ride with me. I appreciate you taking a seat on the bus and being part of my dream, my reality. Let's do a little 3-card reading from the Osho deck. First card, New Vision. It's got that warrior energy. When this card comes up, I think it's a strong message of saying that favorite version of you, that version of you that keeps calling your name, that keeps saying, hey, step into me, step into this new vision. Like, it's time. Recognizing the barriers, really working through the obstacles. If you need to work with someone, a coach, a mentor, you can always reach out to me and I will help you find resources. If you're looking for someone in your area, this new vision is a really important card. It's part of what that Toltec wisdom really talked about, is like, you are the creator of your dream. Like, you're creating the reality. Of course, we have really difficult things happen to us. That does alter our reality. Like, those traumas are real, fam. They are. And they do change our behavior in a lot of ways. But we also have a lot within our circle of control to create this new vision. Next card, friendliness, is reaching out to those people that inspire you. Being very mindful of people that drain your energy doesn't mean you have to cut them off. It might just mean that you're going to spend a little bit of less time. You're going to wait till you have capacity, but really reach out to your support system, the people that inspire you, that fill your cup up. The last card, patience. We need a lot of patience here. This card has the moon phases at the top. As we keep turning into different versions of ourselves, we keep experiencing different phases and having a lot of patience with ourselves. We haven't experienced this version of us at this exact time before. This card also kind of depicts, Mother Earth. So it's remembering the power, of, the elements of Mother Earth, of all of the things that we have here. So I appreciate you. I hope there was something in this episode that really rang true, that was helpful for you. Take care. Take care, fam. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. Your spiritual beings having a human experience.